So thank you very much for being here. This panel is, the working title is How to Film War. It's, we have two movies here that couldn't be more different one than the other. I don't know if you've seen the film from Sepideh, and the film 𝘈𝘂𝘓𝘗𝘗 will be shown on Wednesday, but we already had the chance to see it. So we're going to talk about two movies who have very different approaches in how to film war, and we're going to try to find out what does it mean as a filmmaker to go into a crisis, and what does it make with us as filmmakers on a mental, on a physical level. How can we shoot war, and what does it mean to make movies out of the moment as well. And so we're gonna start with some first questions here. You've both shot movies that took you like a lot from yourself. Like you went inside there. You went there for years as well. What is the thing that made you go there? What was the main, like, the motivation that you came out and you said, okay, I need to shoot that?
Is that? So we shoot this film as collective. It's 3 directors and 3 DOPs. And why do we go there? Because the war is happening in our country. We are fighting for our freedom. We are part of this country and this process. And maybe the filming was the only way we knew to act and to be connected to the protest that is happening in our country. Yeah.
Well, in my case, I made a film about a country that is not mine, but some were in the middle of from October 7th onwards, but as the months were passing, I really had an urgent need to understand more and look for the voice of the people from inside Gaza, which was absent for me. There were just figures and, casualty numbers, but the medias were not addressing them. And I needed to get that, so I went to get as close as possible to the conflict zone and possibly to Gaza, which I couldn't, and that's how the film started.
So when you shoot the war, you obviously put yourself in danger, like in danger in the sense of like also in mental danger. Where have been your limits for yourself where you would say, okay, those maybe you can explain us a moment in the shooting process where you understand where are my limits as a director, where are my limits as a human being, where I need to protect myself, or do I just go with the adrenaline and I keep on going? Maybe you can give us some insight of your shooting.
As I told, we worked with a different, like one team, but different crews on the field. And we worked all over the country, Ukraine, to film what is happening on the south, on the east. The main thing that maybe you face and you listen to is your intuition. Sometimes maybe you have you can come to some very hard place. You got permission, but you just feel that you shouldn't, and then it's better not to go. My colleagues here, they have this experience listening to their intuition, and it was the right decision. To be true, in Ukraine, it's not only dangerous to go to the front line, it's just dangerous every day. You never know if the morning will come, so even decision to stay is your decision, and you take this choice. And of course, filming is even more dangerous than just living and waiting for rocket maybe to come, but it just way to be connected to the reality, So you can do what you can do, so you can film. Of course, there are limits, and you just feel them inside, and then you stop.
Yeah, just mental issue is one of the big things in production, and I think working in collective in our case was this supporting belt in this case, because of we having each other and support each other, and in one moment of the production your energy going so low, and there's like people around you who support you, and cover your back, as we're saying. Yeah, so it's in the filming, in the editing, and we always try to find the ways to work with the mental issues and to be more, because it's going really overwhelmed with everything. So it's quite from like how we approach with like editing in the residency or filming from a different crews. So it's all the time this issue happened.
Well, in my case, the danger, of course, the pressure or stress was psychological. It was not physical, obviously. All that physical charge was on Fatma's side, and we know what happened to her. She was killed, targeted by Israeli missiles, and assassinated with all her family. Possibly because she was making photography. Possibly because the film was selected here. We will never know. It happened a day after the selection was announced. But I mean, she was saying the same thing. She said that I need to stay here to document the war. She knew there was a risk. I think when we started working, that risk was less conscious in her mind. At the beginning of the film, you see that she's more adamant and more naive maybe about the risk of doing this photography. But as the months were passing by, her decision about staying in Gaza didn't change at all, but she did express here and there, not directly to me, but in messages that she sent me or posts that she wrote, that she the mission of documenting the genocide was something she really felt was needed for the history, for the posterity, and she. This is the name of the film comes from there. She said, taking photos in Gaza is like putting your soul on your hand and walking. This is how she described it, meaning, so this element of, fragileness. And of course, the mental charge, of course, of waiting for her to reappear every time and not knowing whether she was alive every day while, and in between our connections, and sending the messages, that is a tremendous charge. And the horrible thing about it is when you're far away, you're very powerless about that. You can't do anything. So I just had to wait until she would respond, because you cannot protect them. But I think there's even one more step. This is not my experience. I just met recently the director of the film Israel-Palestine through the Swedish TV archives, Gorun, and I have a blank, I can't remember his file, but he never went there to make the film. He worked with archives, but he was describing his experience, and he said, I'm in depression now. I can't watch any of the images now anymore. Whenever I look at it, I cry. Meaning the process of editing the archives broke him. That was his experience. I'm sharing it because it was in New York. I just met him in a panel. But I mean, I guess it has very different layers of responsibility, decision-making, and of course, stress, charge.
In your case, it was also, to explain the movie, not to explain the movie, but to give a certain idea of how the movie works. We are in all different situations in Ukraine, but we are also very much on the front line. And it's also a movie that is very aesthetical, that reminds at some parts, even like a fiction movie, which is there's an aesthetic of wars. There's not just a capturing, but there's also your way of wanting to show it in a certain way. So apart from just documenting, you also take decisions as filmmakers, how you want to show the war. What was for you at the beginning? You worked in a team. You had to, and I've seen the movie, and I didn't have the feeling that there's 5 directors because there's a very clear sort of approach. It's very aesthetic, but it's very emotional because we are with the faces. People trust you. But what were the decisions you took before the shooting to saying what sort of film we want to make? How do we want to show the war?
I think the first moment, it was not even the film. It was we started to shoot on the first day of the full-scale invasion, when DOP come underground while bombing and shooting underground in the metro station. So it was a reflex to document like the world burning worlds around, and after watching the materials, it became the film. And I think it's the director's work as a collective and work before on the topic of war, starting from the beginning of war from 2014, when the Russian-Ukrainian war started, actually. So it was prepared before, and the visual style of the filming, it's also it was, like each other visual style was pretty the same in terms of they form each other as an artist. So it was reflex, and after it became more as a project.
Yeah, and just to add, so the team works together for around 10 years. Not only directors, but DOPs also. And we are forming each other a lot as artists through revolution, then through war. We've grown up together, and the vision to the cinema is very close, because I, for example, edited Simon movie, Simon edited Alina movie, so we all worked together very deeply before, and in this project we really think that our DOPs are our co-authors, because how they see this world is very close, how we see this world, and it's very important that we share this, experience together. And the approach to the filming was, I think, we changed the attitude inside making the movie. At one moment we understood that we want to come much closer to people, and we did it. And I think it was very right solution. About people trusting us, I think because we are part of these people. We are inside. We are not media that coming from outside the country. We're living with them through this, and they know this, they feel this. For us, the main thing as an attitude to what we filmed was a dignity to a human we're filming. We never used them. We always were connected to them, and after the filming, a lot of us coming back to these people, because we also do a lot of volunteering work to help villages, to help soldiers. Yeah, so it's a part of life, I would say, and this attitude with a dignity to the human was maybe the main thing.
I like the end of I'll jump on that, of your answer, this connection to life. So I think for me, what I tried to do was really this. Mine is a very solitary exercise. It was me on one side, Fatma on the other side, for a year before other people joined me at the very end, to help me carry it and finish the film. But the whole filming and editing process was really almost only me and her. I mean, me actually editing, and she was my mirror when I was filming her, and I left the war not out of the film, but out of the frame. For most of it, the war, in the conversations that we had, which is the main line of the film, you feel the war, of course, the destruction, the genocide, the starving, literally creeping in little by little, but you don't see it directly. You hear it also through the bombings and the drones and all of that. But so it's another way of representing the war. I really focused on her and on her feelings, and her physical being, and her mental and psychological, emotional feelings. Level of changes also, and that is what you see. That with time, she's drifting away. She's kind of, it's you see the effect of the starvation and the warfare, psychological warfare also on her, although she was very strong. So it's a very different way of depicting it, but my decision had to do with linking to the life also in a different way. And the way or why I chose to do it with the mobile and mobiles only. It was her mobile phone and my mobile phone and another one filming that mobile. I didn't go for heavier equipment, more serious or defined filmic equipment, because I needed to be at her level and keep it very simple. I wanted this connection to remain as the usual act that we do in our lives of connecting to someone and being, and I wanted to to keep being carried in the film throughout the film.
Yeah, what I think is amazing in both films is the level of psychology that enters with the time. So we have like a first level, a superficial level of the destruction, of the bombs, of the aesthetics, also the architecture of war. But the more we get into the movie, we understand what it makes with people. And then your movie is structured in different chapters where you get more and more into the human being, and also in extreme scenes where we see like a funeral or like a moment. I mean, and also the beauty of like when I remember the scene on the train station when people say goodbye to each other, and it's super touching, even romantic. And I think in both films there's so much human nature inside. Is that something that during wartime, or as filmmaker, it crystallizes in another way than you would in a gun where just people are like, how do you experience that?
Me? I'm good. Yeah, I think it's just reality in this moment, in this place, reality going so much intense. So, and even in the darkest thing, how it's banal not to sound, but there's a lot of life, and we focus on this and funeral, and we shot really a lot of terabytes of material. It's now like 100 terabytes of material, and a lot of scenes is like destruction again and again, but a lot of life coming there. And the villages, which part of the film is also, it's people whose houses was destroyed totally because there was a front line. And when we were volunteering there and coming, they were like, give us the materials, we will rebuild, and going on. And we understand it's a mutual process of this energy keeping, because we're coming there to help, but they also helping us because they motivate us a lot. And so this is a process when there's a huge tragedy and harsh moments happening, there's rising of really beautiful human being stories. So
in this film we focused on the transformation of human being inside the war. Of course, it started from our inner feelings, because between each other, speaking to each other and mirroring each other, we see how we transform. Militanthropos, the name of the film, is a neologism that constructed from two words. Militan is a soldier from Latin, and anthropos is the human from Greece language. So it's a transformation when the war starts to be a part of human, and humans start to be a part of war, and it's not only the bad thing, it's just something that you can't avoid and that you have to face in yourself, in your friends, in your family, and in the country. So this is what we are focused on. And when the war started, the full invasion started, it kind of opened everyone. You can see the human being, you can see eyes. Everybody start to be, maybe it's adrenaline, maybe it's a danger of just lose everything, but you see that everyone is more alive than it was before. Now the war is going for 3 years, and it's very changed because, of course, we are very tired. For not knowing if the morning will come and if we have future or no, but we know that it's the only way to have a future is to still fight, still film, still exist. So maybe it's where we getting all the inspiration just to continue, existing.
Yes, these would be the words of Fatma if had she been here. That nothing is forever. All the wars end, and she kept saying that she has hope that the war will end, and by documenting and by staying there, by resisting, that's what she was doing. And it is a huge decision, of course, like many of the Ukrainians do also, and all of the people in Gaza, or most of them, almost all of them. It is by being there itself, it's an act of resistance, and by not giving in to the despair, and then the filming, her work was really mainly documenting it through photography, but she was writing also, and this change also is as I said before, you could feel it in her way of taking the photos, the way the colors faded away more and more, and it was towards the end there was almost no color left, because there was no color actually, because it was all rubbles and destruction, and in Gaza and in the text also, and then yet you had some sparks of energy and of hope. And on my side, if I could describe the way I filmed, I think it was a lifeline for me. I drew a line, and I wanted it to be a line which would keep her to, alive, as absurd as it may seem, because of course my camera or my being there didn't mean anything. It meant mentally to her, of course. It gave her energy. She said it many times, that it's just enough that you're there for me. And it's enough, Sepideh. It's enough you're here. And but literally, physically, concretely, it didn't. It did not keep them from killing her. So we know that. But
Yeah, I think what I'm also, for me as a filmmaker, the question also came up. Cinema is a very slow medium. We have an idea, we try to find money, and the war is now, the war is in the moment. You chose to just start. You also chose to just start. Is there, how did that go for you? Did you find support on the way to do the movie? Also, I feel like we should have more movies it's amazing how many movies are made about the Second World War, still now. And sometimes I feel like, I understand that we need time to digest things, and maybe some movies are great 10 years after a war has been done, but on the same time, I feel also it's important to shoot the actual war, not just to wait till we digest it. How did you progress on that? Did you say we're going to do it anyway? How did the institutions worked with you? Did they say we're going to give you anyway the money, just go ahead?
So it was, when I said it started from the reflex, and it was this case where you don't have any support to start or nothing. It was like just pure inside feeling to document, and obviously the financing come along the way, but it was like the first year was without money at all, and there's no national financing, because it's obviously all national financing for the filming coming to defending and volunteering help, and we couldn't pretend we need money for the film while cities are destroyed. So but international support is help very much. But it was also a long process, as any filmmaking. It's not like give us some financing and they just give you financing. It's applications, it's everything with the same. So, but it was along the way international support with a different, for example, European Solidarity Film Fund. So there's some initiatives which started for Ukrainian films after full-scale invasion, which helped the film to survive. But it's still the first line was to document it's whatever it is, and it's happened that we financed the film, but we didn't know about that, and we still were ready to do. So
we can tell the finance.
So we have different international supported, from the European Solidarity Fund to the Sundance documentary film grant, and 𝘕𝘓𝘓 Fund, Austrian. So it's a great collaboration of Ukraine, France, and Austria. We have from France 𝘕𝘓𝘓𝘓 company who raised the money in the France, but it's not only about raising the money. It's a collaboration in terms of producing, and came with the idea how to improvise. And with the Austrians, Ministry Films, with Ralph Weiser, who helped raise the Austrian Ministry of Culture. It was a small grant. We started like really big collaboration. So it was improvisation from the start moment. And while like we were filming and everything, but this is how our collective works. We divide the responsibilities and just trying to keep them.
I want to add a bit. I want to add about the beginning of war. I think it's very important and it's important topic. When the full-scale invasion started, we got a huge support from our European colleagues, filmmakers. One of it grown up to the 𝘩𝘢𝘭𝘪 initiative. So what they did, they collect money and bought us hard drives and cameras. That really gave us opportunity to film, because we started with another camera, Blackmagic. It was too big, and after one artillery attack, we understood that we can't run with it. So the small cameras were really a big help for us. The second initiative was great also. Our Slovenian colleagues showed our films in Slovenia, raised money, and bought us bulletproof vests and helmets, not only for our team, but for more documentary filmmakers. And they sent it to Ukraine through the borders. And it was a huge help, because we just started, we were, more secured, more safe. And I just want to tell that filmmakers and independent journalists in such a war zones who work there really need a big support from a filmmaking society, because it's not only about physical thing, not only about bulletproof vests, but it also a solidarity that you really need from your colleagues in such a moments, just to feel that you're not alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In my case, I did not ask for any fundings, because I just wanted to go. So I just bought a ticket and I left. My gears were very light, so I didn't need any funding at the beginning. The mental decision to continue, keep going on filming for almost a year and editing for most part of it was, gradually defined itself, but the need to do it no matter what was there, and I could not even wait for, funding or ask. I didn't have towards the end, when the editing was almost over, there were two sponsors who came in with money in a very short lapse of time to small amounts, but still it helped a lot tremendously to pay for some things. And then many, when we speak about solidarity, quite a few technical people for grading, for sound, just watched the film screener, and they said, we will do it for free. So, and they came in and we said, okay, if I find money later, you'll get paid. They said, we don't care about the money, we'll just do it. So this aspect of solidarity is definitely there, and it's important, it's very important. I know it also as an Iranian filmmaker, because obviously in Iran it's also, whether you do it outside Iran or you do it inside, underground, or it's also a very important aspect. And but I wanted to maybe, unless it's amongst the questions, talk about the fact that how the film could be used to raise more solidarity, and in this case it's a very different thing in terms of Ukraine and Palestine, the conflicts, because the European and world solidarity, for good reasons, of course, for Ukrainian people, has been there right from the beginning, and perhaps not enough, because I'm sure it's always needed more. In the case of the Palestinians, there is a lot of floating in terms of, apart from a certain minority of people who've been active on the Palestinian cause, generally the global leaders and have been floating a lot, saying because of the consequences of 7th of October, there was a long moment of and it's still going on before defining that there are civilians getting killed and we have to move. So my hope with this film is, I jumped into another category, but I think it's important to say, is that my film, and I'm sure your film and all of these kinds of films, are also tools to raise awareness. First of all, we use tools to make the films, and then this film becomes a tool to do something else with it and to go further, because it's really, that's where this type of filmmaking is different from the films that are made about the Second World War, which is that is already, that's a historical reflection about a conflict that is long gone. But this is something we need to use the film as a tool itself to go further and build on it to help people.
Yeah, I think it's interesting this topic because it also, there's the question, is it what are your hopes with the films? I mean, do you, I mean, your film will probably be shown in cinemas also in France, and it's been sold and stuff. The idea is also when we do films not to just make it for the festival audience. I mean, I'm just saying this from my side, but what are your expectations about that? I mean, both films are experiences, like very deep experiences. Was that something that you had in your mind while shooting, like a spectator or someone? But I mean, there's, for example, did you put any limits on what you want to show, what you don't want to show? I mean, you both show dead people in your film, I think. Is there something you had in mind to how do we need to get it out in the theaters, and how do we do that?
So there was no limits. There are no limits existing for our actors and creators. So yeah, and it's a beautiful thing that support all the ideas and don't match to the sound. This one. So I matching strategy for the actors, keeping their idea in the front. But I understand what you're telling about, like festival bubble. Also, but there's a other side of this, because it's much more concentrated of people who can be active in festival. So it's just my subjective idea that the film can change the world. For me, it's like obvious, but it could try to this slowly process. This is why we need like a lot of films from the Ukraine, Palestine, and like the all and this is why we have from the Second World War. It's not yet closing this topic because of the understanding what world we're now living. It is the results, the consequences after the Second World War, that the architecture of the world not working. Not going too fully about UN nations and political base, but the architecture not working, which existed after the Second World War. And now we in this process of not knowing what the new world is about and trying to blindfoldly going in this direction. So for us, film can be this kind of like this little steps to get more new senses about realizing what the new world and new reality is about. And about the audience, it's obviously we want to have broader, but it's still industry. You still you can build a strategy around that you want in every theater, but it's still like for documentary to go in theaters, it's complicated. There is no bright a big audience to come on it, so it's a really long process, and it's always with this framing. And yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to add that our film is complicated because it's speaking about civilians who take in weapons and start to be professional army to fight for their freedom. So this was a very important thing for us as authors because just to be opened, a lot of people not in Ukraine just don't understand this, that our army is the army of your neighbor, of your father, of your friend, and people who just made a decision to protect your country. And this we really wanted to be in the film, and we're showing this process from the first time of taking weapons to be when the humans start to be a part of the war. And I hope this idea and this topic in the film will question, especially European audience, because it can be very soon that they will face the same situation. So what you would do in this situation? Will you fight for your freedom and for your house, or will you run away? And this, I hope, will question our audience.
I think when you are making a film about a current conflict, a current emergency crisis situation, which is evolving so quickly also, in both cases, that is, you adapt as a filmmaker also. Sometimes you have to make decisions to whether I keep filming or whether I stop here and I get it out. Or I had both phases. I passed through different phases. When I had started in April 24 to film Fatem, initially this was not the idea, but when I met her, it was very clear and very quickly clear that this was going to be the film. So after a few months in June last year, I already felt an urgency to get it out. I made a cut, very, very quick, hasty cut to try to get it to festivals, because in my idea back then, I mean, obviously we do start from the festivals, even if we get it out to larger audiences later, that's where it starts usually. It's practically impossible to make a film and get it out without going through the festival tube. So, but then I realized, and I did send it to a couple of places, but I realized it was too early. Though it could have been, it could have worked, but it was an emergency, and yet it was too early. And then I decided, it was very, it was a violent, kind of hard decision to make, to not to send it out anymore, to keep filming, and to be patient and to edit until I feel that there is a line that is standing, and there's a unit which can stand alone and show, that the spectrum of change on her and the war also. It took time, and it was hard to keep going, because you feel this is the moment I have to do something. And it's not like getting out on the streets and shouting. You cannot do that. So at the most, you can show it to people close to you to see what they feel or how they feel about it. But then you have to keep going. This conviction, this faith that you have to have in your own vision and filmmaking. It's always like that with filmmaking, but in these cases, it's more so. It's a mental process that you really have to convince yourself that you need to keep going. And then at some point, the fruit is ripe, and then you really have to find the right way of getting it out to people, I guess.
Yeah, how did you decide that for your movie? Because as you told me before, you're still shooting, you're still doing everything that you did. You're working on a second or on the third one. How did you decide? Okay, we start editing now. We want to have maybe the hope that the war will end and then the film will end. Or how did you manage that to say, okay, let's go to the editing suite now?
Yeah, of course I think first year and second year we had the hope that war will end. Now we don't have it anymore. Sorry. We just at one moment felt that we met and we did residency. Thank you to producers. It's very important sometimes to get out of a city that can be shot at with rockets every day, just to some nature, just to have some new space where you can think and speak. And it's what we did. We just went to nature and took some house, and there we just ate. Not only we were watching materials and speaking about concepts, speaking about our inner feelings and finding the form. And I think after such a first session, in 3 months we started to edit, because we felt that we found the focus, we found how we should do it. Yeah, I hope I answered.
I would just add that it's super combined ways of filming and editing. So it's mutual process of like filming, going to editing room to edit after the filming. So it was these waves which really support each other. So yeah, that's for sure.
Well, I had already started talking about the editing process, but one thing that I faced also, and it was new to me, was that this filming editing parallelly, I did it for the first 6 months, and at some point, late summer last year, I realized that if I don't stop putting a line on the material that I am taking in, I will never be able to finish. So around late October, so for another month or a half to mid-November, I kept filming and ingesting the material in my timeline, and from then onwards I still kept filming, but I wasn't changing the timeline anymore in terms of new material, because it was psychologically very difficult to cope with both, it's different types of material. One is, more matured because you already structure it into a full, into the timeline of the editing, and the other is raw material, and it's and plus it enabled me to perhaps handle this emotional stress of in a different way. Let's say I made that stress of whether she would answer or not. I made it personal. She was my friend, she was my sister. I had that every day, but I was working on the film. I tried to separate those parts, although you can't always work it out, but that's how I tried to go about it, that the film was evolving. I had a clear line, and then I kept calling her every day and sending messages, and I kept those footage which I didn't use in the film. Ultimately, I knew it would be out. But it's very... and another point, again, going to the output and changing to the other question category, is that I have a feeling, and this is very new to me, that there's an urgency. People are asking to watch the film very quickly, and demands are coming. So initially we had planned, the plans were, and we're going to talk about it today, actually, later in the afternoon, to release the film late September. This is the initial plan, but we are receiving and the situation is changing by the hour there in Gaza. So we have a feeling now. I mean, this is also something new, that it's the evolution of the things is so quick that we have to adapt at this level as well. Perhaps meet the demand of showing the film to people who are really, and also to again build on it and raise awareness so that things keep moving, because otherwise we'll be again talking about the same situation, showing images which we see in a way or another, and it doesn't make things change. So it's all a very shifting process at many levels, I would say.
So that means that you would also maybe skip the sort of industry routine of releasing it piece by piece. You would just put it out for everyone, for example, online or something like that you could expect for your movie.
We're not that far yet. I don't know, but we're thinking of different things. One of the initial things we had thought of was trying to build a solidarity chain of festivals who would accept all of them to disregard the premiere status and show it. We haven't quite achieved that, but we're still hoping to for some exceptions, to think that this is a film, and okay, the festival industry has rules and protocols, but maybe we can make exceptions for some cases because of the humanitarian urgency and emergency. This was one of the ideas. The other idea is that thing about the release, which we have to define quickly. But I can share something else about another film I made, which is not exactly about the war. Red Rose is a fiction piece I made, but using archive footage from the Green Revolution in Iran that happened in 2009. In that case, I took 3-4 years distance before making the film. But when it was made, and we made it outside because it was breaking all the red lines of the regime in terms of censorship and targeting people, we knew that none of the Iranian crew could go back to Iran after that film. And when it was released, we also, with the whole crew and the distribution and production, made the clear decision that we wanted it to be accessible in Iran for Iranians. And because it was a dangerous film for them, not for us because we were outside, for them inside to watch, they could be arrested by having the film and all. We developed a Google app with a high-tech company which would make the film watchable anonymously online for the Iranians inside, because YouTube is filtered in Iran, because they can't. So they could. So there were many, so we did it. We released it online for free for Iran and Afghanistan for political reasons, so that all the people could access it, and it was watchable for several years, actually. Then we closed it, but they accessed that film regardless of the censorship and forbidden being.
Yeah, I just wanted to open up here the round. If you have any questions to the filmmakers here present, their movies, their approach. Not maybe I'm gonna ask and I lost them.
I can ask.
You wanna ask?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to raise one topic I think that we share. We call it like, meeting the death. When the death is just over the corner. It's in different forms for both our films, but I think it's just experience that changing you as a human, and you start to see different. So I wanted to ask you how was it for you, waiting for answer from the other side, and maybe I wanted to pass the word to my co-authors that are here and that can share the experience working on frontline and feeling that you are target.
Yes, this process of waiting. It changes your life rhythm, life tempo. Like I wasn't living in Paris or wherever I was. My rhythm was her rhythm. I knew when she would get up, when there would be connection possibly, when there wouldn't be anymore. And so I would try to adapt, or getting up earlier, or maybe going to bed later, or sending messages at such a time and waiting for answers at another time, and trying to make the video calls trying to adapt to the moments where she could move around, because she needed to walk a long time to get connection. She needed to walk in order to upload the images she was sending me. So, to get electricity to charge her phone and computer and camera, and batteries, all of that. So I guess you're physically where you are, but you're mentally somewhere else. In this kind of process, for me, you split, and you kind of deal with something else, another reality, by dual reality. That's how I felt about it.
If it's okay to ask, when the death happened, you always were waiting for her to answer. When you realized that it happened, like what did you? I don't know the question, but maybe you can share as a person and filmmaker, something. So the question is not clear because I want to be ethical, So sorry.
Well, we're beyond the ethics. I don't know how to say it. It's just that I still can't believe it. I talk about it, I cry about it, I repeat it every day 10 times more. But I can't get it in. I can't take it in. For me, she's there. And the horrible thing is that because she was such a beautiful person, that when you watch the images, you really think she's alive. I cannot take it in that she's dead. People describe to me how she died. The report is there, the friend's description is there of how it happened, all that is happened. I didn't share it because it's horrible, but it still doesn't sink in. So I guess she was a believer. She believed in God. I don't believe, but I try to think of that God she believed in and think that maybe she's up there and she's seeing all that's happening for her, because she said she wanted a loud death, and she's having a loud death, and I'm going to make it louder.
Your voice is heard.
Yes, I hope so.
Thanks for this.
Yeah.
Want to pass it?
Just to pass. Talking about death, and death is also in your film, like very present. Me as a filmmaker, when I saw the images from the front line, I was always thinking as well as the director and the DOP, and I was asking myself, how are they able to shoot there and in such a way, and what does it make to them, to experience that, not to be soldiers, but soldiers of transmitting those images, and how did you live that through that period?
I will try to answer a little bit. I think in the middle of our production, it was my feeling that, okay, we are covering a lot, but is it a lot if we are talking about the real transformation of human being inside a war, when it's really capturing you, that I must go deeper, I must risk myself if I believe in what I'm saying as a filmmaker. I cannot just be in a distance at that moment, because the film we're doing, the way how we film, it's very emotional thing. It's not like the cold observation is very emotional observation, which we are connected with what we facing. And these places where I was, maybe the hardest one was this, the forest. It's called Silver Forest in Ukraine. It's front line, like super front line. And when you got there, firstly, of course, this feeling of some death that is around these trees is tricked you in some ancient feeling of your fear of the, I don't know, some myths and legends, like Grimm brothers legends, these dark scenes that could happen with you. And you like experience that, and it definitely changes you a lot. And I accidentally got to this forest for a few hours, and then we keep going there with the DOP to try to find the visual language of the emotions, that this deep like bouquet of emotions that we faced, and to transform it to the viewer. So he got this experience during watching the film, what is to facing death really close, how it could change you. That is the main moment of changing. And like talking about like putting yourself in these circumstances, like it is important to be prepared, I think. Yes, they talk about the intuition, so like there is super limited access to these places, and basically I do it with the DOP. Sometimes it's a sound guy with us, sometimes not, so we manage to, like, we have super productive unit. One guy is making a camera, one other one changing the tripods, lenses, put the sound down. So you need to be focused, you need to be prepared, you need not to bring lots of stuff with you. And but also it is like talking about this waiting for an answer. You need to realize it's not like adrenaline needle. Yeah, I'm very aware of feeling adrenaline in my life. I'm not a fan at all. I don't want to have any adrenaline anymore. But like when you are in the middle of this events, it's really not so scared when you are coming there or you're thinking that you come. It's really like it's not so hard, and you could find some stuff, like something that you could catch, that could catch you mentally, that could catch you physically, to stay focused, not to like put in despair yourself or fear. And this is really important to have it. That's what I could say, maybe.
Yeah, like for me, the most like a scary moment is when you understand that someone wants to kill you. Because, for example, I and my DOP, we experienced, we were in a military hospital when the Russians started to target this military hospital, and we decided to go to the basement with all staff of this and doctors. And we really hear, because they continue to attack, and we understood that they probably have some copter under us, and they target precisely and precisely and precisely with every hit. We understand that it will be closer and closer to this basement and closer. And another journalist, girl, she had a panic attack during this, and it obviously, and all people in this basement, we were really in this very tiny, very small basement, and they start to panic, all these people, and it's like it was very scary. And this girl, journalist, she asked me, when will it end? Because it was so scary. So yeah, when I felt, and I was thinking maybe I will die right now, but I tried to calm down this journalist, this girl, and it really helped me. Yeah, it was really something. And talking about death, we also experience another scene, let's say, also in the same stabilization point military hospital, let's say, on another day. So our military, they bring a soldier, Ukrainian soldier. He was really massively wounded, and they try to rescue him. they closed the door and they tried to rescue him. And at the same time, our military, Ukrainian military, they captivated a Russian soldier. And he also had some wounds, but not so critically, and he received first aid. And unfortunately, it was, two doors in front, maybe, let's say, of each other, and our Ukrainian soldier died, unfortunately. And Russian, he was alive. So it was, this very mixed feeling, like say. And if I can tell a little bit about intuition, during that day when they Russians target this military hospital, I was completely fine. I had any thoughts. So yeah, it's I don't believe my intuition, unfortunately, because I'm so scared every time, and they need to push me every time I meet to say, don't be afraid, everything will be okay. So it's challenged me a lot to work with my fear.
Maybe I wanted to one practical and one mental question. Practical question, working on the frontline field. So all the protocols, Western protocols for media security that I knew before the full-scale invasion, right before it doesn't work anymore. So I studied several workshops with some security guys, and in our case, it doesn't work because we are targeted. We had the target. We don't work in this press blue Westproof, because if you will be on the front line, they definitely get you on a drone. They trying to kill as much press, media, filmmakers as they could. So yeah, you need really to be studied, to be prepared, to check and go through military training itself. Because, for example, me and the DOP was on when there was the second occupation of Kharkiv region in Volchansk. There was an evacuation, and we on this evacuation, and they hit it with a cassette missile. The place, massively killing lots.
The missile
how it goes.
The idea is to kill as many people as you can, because it goes like this and
it
starts to grow.
And it's basically lots of policemen doesn't react when it was the first explosion, but our DOP who get this training, he just do what he must, and it really help you. So you need to really be prepared and better to know a lot how to, if you prepared, you know how to act in this extreme things. And also mentally question, when you faced a lot of death, destruction and everything, it's really start thinking of your importance and of the importance of your work as a filmmaker in this kind of event, especially when you are related, when you cannot leave this country for your reasons. And is it okay to just film it, or it's better to do your job as a citizen and do your right to fight? So it's an open question for us and all of us, and it's going we keep coming to this question. And I remember Alina said that in one interview that okay, if we stop filming, that maybe we lost. If you got this idea in your mind deeply that art and cinema is not important anymore, that they get you. So maybe this is one of the things that helps you not to fall into despair as a filmmaker and keep going filming. It's our way of resistance.
Thank you. I don't know if everybody is speaking English. So I would say in English and then in French. So I'm a journalist. I'm a war reporter for l'Humanité newspaper. I cover all the wars, especially in the Middle East, but not only, also in Ukraine. And as you say, when we speak about Ukraine, we speak about front line. In Gaza, there is no front line. In the West Bank, there is no front line. So that is a big difference. And in Gaza, the journalists, they cannot enter. As foreign journalists, we cannot enter. That's the first time. Because even I went to the border in the Sinai, to the Rafah crossing. I couldn't enter because the border was monitoring by the Israelis' drones. So we have to know that. So if there was not Palestinian journalists inside the Gaza Strip, we didn't have any pictures from what happened in the Gaza Strip. And more than 200 journalists, like Fatma, have been killed. They have not died. They have been killed. They are targeted by the Israelis. because they don't want to have those kind of pictures. And it's sure that when you do that for 20 or 25 years, it's not only going one time in a war zone. You live with that. And more than that, when you go there, you come back, but you know that you let a lot of people inside. And it's very, very difficult. And you have to manage that and how to keep back to the people in your country what you saw, what you want to explain. And for myself, I want the people not only to have a humanitarian meaning. I mean, with the life of the people, you have to understand what is going on politically. And that's the most important and the most difficult to do it. Because when you are inside, you're in empathy with the people. So you could miss something. So you don't have to miss it. So I think it's kind of experience. And for sure, filmmakers, it's not journalists, and journalists is not filmmakers, but we go in the same place. But when I was in Ukraine, for example, at the beginning of the war, even the civil defense and the militaries, they saw us as spies. So it was very difficult to work. And with the Israelis, you know, in 2002, it's 23 years ago, they forbid us to enter the Jenin refugee camp. So I entered there because it was a massacre already. Not like in Gaza, because the Gaza it's more than 1 year. So when they want to forbid us to enter, that means that there will be more than massacre. Now it's genocide in Gaza. Thank you. Pardon, je veux dire en français. Je disais que pour ceux qui ne comprennent pas, ça fait plus de 20 ans que je couvre les guerres pour le journal L'Humanité. On ne parle pas de...
Je pense qu'on a fait tout en anglais, j'en comprends. Je n'avais pas traduit tout. So, if there's any last questions, last remarks that you want to say, then if not, I would... anyone? The moment? I would like to express my thanks for doing movies in this very, very strong way. Thank you very much for your engagement, for your force, and may you do continue your work like this, and thank you very much.
Thank you.